Hi everyone. No, I haven't done a video for a while, so I thought I would do one now. I've just had a couple of questions come in about people who are looking to start in IT, and basically they asked me what technologies they should learn and what languages they should learn. And my answer to this is, well, it's actually a complicated question because it comes down to a number of things, and what those things are. Number one, market value in what you choose. Passion for what you want to do. So, what kind of software you want to build. And whether you're committed to just using those tools. Like some people, they get into a language or a tool and they just don't like it. There's different tools they like instead. And I think you just basically have to come and work out for yourself what you want to do and how you want to do it. So, and just to give you some advice on it, sometimes you can be swayed in a certain direction for what tools and languages you have to use, and it really comes down to a couple of things. One is, well, what platform do you want to develop on? So, for the web, then obviously you can use any web tool that's out there. You can use straight up Notepad and just write HTML flat out of a Notepad, or you can use a more complicated IDE, that helps you with formatting your markup and write, basically assisting you writing it. Using IntelliSense and all these other bits and pieces. Then there's with that, you got to learn things like HTML5, you got to learn JavaScript, you've got to learn CSS3. A lot of people would learn Bootstrap along with CSS3, even though to me Bootstrap is an inferior product now. That's just my opinion, but a lot of people still use it just to get things up and going. It is quite a sophisticated framework to get stuff up and going quickly, so I'll give Bootstrap that, but overall, if you've got time, most people won't use it. That's just my opinion on that. But yeah, so if you're going to do web, they're probably the things you'd focus on. If you're looking at web backend development, then it really comes down to what platform you're going to run the servers on. So if you're going to be running it in a Windows environment, then you're probably looking at programming your code in .NET primarily, though you can write PHP and Node and all that in Windows. But primarily anybody that's working with Windows servers will probably look to use .NET. And with that, they'll use the database SQL Server. If you're looking at PHP or just a Linux type background, a lot of people will use MySQL and PHP, or Postgres and PHP. Again, that comes down to, or if you're more comfortable running on Linux, or the servers in which you have at the company that you're at runs it on Linux. So they're the preferences you normally have in those kind of environments. If you're doing your web development on Mac, well, Mac don't really have a huge standing for web server technology, so you'd probably be just choosing whatever works for the Windows server that you're using. Node or PHP. Probably not .NET, because .NET really can't be run on a Mac machine as a web server, a light web server. But I know Node definitely can, and I know PHP can. You can actually install something called Apache, which helps with serving those things. But a lot of people these days just run console-based web servers. So even then, Apache these days has kind of become a little bit, what do they say, deprecated. Not saying it doesn't get used. There's Nginx and a few other ones. So that's probably web. If you're looking for Windows development, then you're probably looking in the areas of, if you're using Microsoft, you're looking at .NET again with WPF, or just Windows 8 meta-based type stuff. You can actually write your Windows 8 applications in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript again. So you might want to reutilize those skills for web and Windows. for Mac, you're probably looking at Swift for building Windows-based applications in the Mac OS, as well as if you want to learn iOS, then you're also looking at Swift or Objective-C, and also Objective-C for the Windows apps on a Mac. If you're looking in the Android space, then you're definitely looking at Java. Java can also be a back-end server technology as well. I haven't really played with it too much myself, but I know you've got Java servlet pages and all that. So some people will just stick to one technology, use it everywhere. They'll use it in their web server, they'll use it in their client-side code, because Java can actually go both Windows and back-end, like .NET can. So there's that. What else is there? Game programming. I mean, if you want to go and learn how to build games on PlayStation, there's definitely documentation out there for that. It's not something that most people do on their own though. It's a big task. But a lot of people make mobile games. So if for iOS, there's something called what do they call it? Sprite Kit. I'm not sure what the Android version of it is, but yeah, the Sprite Kit for iOS, which gives you a natural. It allows you to hit the graphics card directly inside the device. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's basically, it's your decision for the most part. The only other thing I'll say is keep your eye on the market as well, because the market does have a strong sway in languages that are considered popular. And if you're a person who's looking to look for a job and not actually start a company yourself, then you probably need to keep an eye out on the job descriptions that are up on job network sites and things like that. And if I was to tell you based on what I know from job networks and recruiters who have contacted me and things like that, I know that Sitecore in Melbourne is definitely the number one technology that everybody wants, and there's not enough developers out there that can do it. Angular 2 is going to be a big one. Anything to do with cloud technology, so Microsoft Azure or AWS or even Google Cloud is slowly starting to catch up. It's going to take a while before Google Cloud becomes a big thing, but they're at least being mentioned now. But cloud technologies are definitely the way to go in terms of hosting anything that you build. So these days, don't try and think of your applications or your web applications just sitting on one centralized server, that talks to one centralized database. Things need to be more reliable than that these days. So you've got the option of scaling, and scaling out versus scaling up, and putting contingencies in place so things don't crash and fall down. And if they fall down, you got plenty of warning. You get alert very quickly. There's a lot of performance metrics that are in there by default that you can utilize. That kind of stuff. I'd definitely recommend looking at Azure or AWS. Azure if you're a Microsoft developer especially. AWS more if you're looking at a Node / maybe PHP side of things. Though you can use both. So you can use PHP for Azure and you can use .NET in AWS. And where I'm at the moment, it's all .NET and AWS. And I wondered why they didn't go with Azure, but that's another story. To be honest with you, what you're passionate about versus what the market value is looking for, I think they're the two things you just have to focus on when you choose what technologies you want to learn. Like for me, I try and keep as all-round as possible, so that I can fit into a lot of spots. Like a few months back, there was a Sitecore position, which I'm not a Sitecore developer, but I have used it. And because I used it and I had strong skills in other areas of .NET, I was still able to get the job. Whereas, there are a lot of people who don't have or might have as much Sitecore as me, but their .NET skills aren't as broad. So therefore they miss out because they don't have those broader sets of skills that they can bring to the table. So I always say try and keep a balance. Have a speciality. I think for a while try and have a speciality if it's strong in the market. So if you're looking at something like Sitecore, go all in on it and learn it from top to bottom and make sure you understand every bit. Make yourself a huge market value. But as soon as you can see that Sitecore is starting to deplete in demand, step away from it. Look at what's next. What's the next thing high in demand? Do I like what that technology is? Yes or no? If you happen to like it, go out, work your butt off to learn it, right? If it's something you're not interested in, then look for the second next biggest thing. Is that what you want to learn? Yes or no? Yes, I do. Okay, cool. Go learn that. And I think that's how you got to look at IT. The one thing I'll tell you right now that you cannot do, and I mean this because I've seen people do this, and what ends up happening is they can never get a job in IT again, or it takes them forever to get one. And that is simply this. Do not be a specialist in one field forever. There are people who I know who, for example, are guns at databases, right? They know SQL Server backwards and forwards, and they know everything about it. They whole optimization, the whole lot, right? Whereas with me, I knew enough about optimization in order to not write bad quality SQL and not structure poor tables. I knew enough about indexing to, get a decent amount of throughput in my database code. But this guy just tore it apart. He ripped it to bits. He did what I said. He went completely nuts on it. Great for him. While SQL Server was in the prime, right? These days, SQL Server has become one of those things that it's just expected you know it. And I think if you don't know, and nobody expects you to pull the whole thing apart. I think there'll be a few companies that will expect somebody with a high amount, a level of SQL Server skills, but they'll also expect other skills too, like you've developed beyond that. And I found that this one person doesn't do that, and I think he's been very fortunate at this point because he's at a company where he's highly valued. They still need him, and the code in which they have is still very legacy based, so the demand of SQL skills is high there. But if he ever moves on, or he ever has to move on because maybe the company goes down, or something like that, because he's just working in a digital agency, so if that company ever goes down, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He's not going to have the skill sets needed by the market in order to improve himself and give himself a better shot working somewhere else. So I hope that makes sense. Basically, 3 things. What do you love doing? What's high in the market? And work hard at one particular skill set, get really good at it, but don't go overboard and not give it up entirely once it becomes a depleted thing, a depleted market value technology. Like SQL is become now just an expectation rather than a high requirement. I think that's it. That's the advice I can give you. Just do what you love. At the end of the day, you've got to sit there 8 hours a day. You've got to do this. I've worked in areas before where I've hated it, the work that I've been doing, and it's draining and it makes you very tired. I would always recommend, if you can get to somewhere where you're passionate about not just the code, but you're passionate about what you're building. That's the optimum. If you can find a place where you love what you're building as well as the code that you're writing, you've got it made. And I'm probably still looking for that second part. The whole loving what I love to build. I've been in a lot of jobs where I love the code base is nice, but that whole interest in what they're doing hasn't been there for me. And I think that's just something that sometimes you can strike it straight away and you just love your first job and you have full passion in it and you want to be there for a long time. And then there's people who they're still searching for it, and I think that's the part I'm still searching for. But try and find it early in life. Try and pick jobs that you'll love to do, and then just work your technology around all that as well as market value. And that's it. That's all I can say. So I think I rambled a bit here, but I hope I answered the question. And good luck to everyone, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.